There was also a chill on stage last night at the Democratic debate. Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton battled over their spending plans, foreign policy, and who's more supportive of President Obama.
The kind of criticism that we've heard from Senator Sanders about our president, I expect from Republicans. I do not expect from someone running for the Democratic nomination to succeed President Obama.
Madam Secretary, that is a low blow. As a result of his efforts and the efforts of Joe Biden against unprecedented, I was there in the Senate, unprecedented Republican obstructionism, we have made enormous progress. But you know what? Last I heard, we lived in a democratic society. Last I heard, a United States senator had the right to disagree with the president, including a president who has done such an extraordinary job. So I have voiced criticisms.
As a senator, yes, I was a senator. I understand we can disagree on the path forward, but those kinds of personal assessments and charges are ones that I find particularly troubling.
One of us ran against Barack Obama. I was not that candidate.
Well, as for the Republicans, many of them are already in South Carolina ahead of tomorrow's debate, pushing for support and taking shots at their opponents. Joining us now in Washington, Emily Sussman, who is the campaigns director for the Center for American Progress, and Lisa Boothe, who is a GOP strategist and president of High Noon Strategies. All right, guys, let's start with the Democrats first. Emily, Sanders is trying to cut into Hillary Clinton's support among minority voters. Last night, Senator Sanders said he'd do more for race relations than President Obama has done. Can Bernie Sanders move that needle before South Carolina?
Sanders is desperately trying to cut into the large advantage that Clinton has with communities of color, because part of the reason that Sanders has done well so far is because the states that he's been in are some of the whitest in the country, Iowa, New Hampshire, and that is the base of his support. Sanders really has one message. Everything comes back to undue influence on Wall Street. Everything comes back to that. And so for that reason,
I'm aware of that.
Public colleges.
So for that reason, he really has trouble with communities of color because it's really not something that they buy into. So he's going to have to change it a little bit, and trying to identify with the president is the way that he's decided he's going to do it.
So, Lisa, what weaknesses does Hillary Clinton have that the Republicans might start taking advantage of? We've been talking a little bit about people think she has the African-American vote locked up, but that may not be the case. We thought she may have the women vote locked up, and that didn't happen in New Hampshire. So what are we going to start seeing here?
Well, I think Hillary's biggest problem is herself, and it's the trust factor. There's now 3 separate investigations into her, both the Clinton Foundation and then 2 separate investigations from the State Department as well as the FBI into her private email server. So her biggest problem and her biggest obstacle is herself. If you look at New Hampshire, 1 in 3 Democrat primary voters said that trust in a candidate was a big issue for them. And of those individuals, they broke for Sanders 92 to 6%. So this is a big problem for Hillary Clinton. If you remember in 2008 as well, she was asked point blank during a debate if she was likable enough. So I think Hillary Clinton's biggest problem, it doesn't matter where she stands on the issues. It doesn't matter if people prefer her policies over Bernie Sanders. Quite frankly, they just don't trust her. And I think it's a problem among, different demographics. We saw young voters also broke for Bernie Sanders, whether they're young women or men. And so her biggest problem is going to be herself this election cycle.
Emily, let me throw one more question at you about the Democrats before we move on to the Republicans. Hillary Clinton is trying to recalibrate her message. At times, she says she's more progressive than Bernie Sanders. Other times, she tries to paint Senator Sanders as an enemy of President Obama's agenda. That's been the criticism of her campaign, that it lacks focus. Is she running out of time to sort of formalize that message?
I think last night, one of the biggest things coming out of last night is that she did seem to really crystallize the message that could potentially cut through, is that he is a one-note candidate. Everything comes back to Wall Street. That is the one thing where she is a multi-layered. She's multi-layered on issues, on experience. So I do think there's time for her to work to get that message out there. The problem is that it's not a bumper sticker message. It's not just, hit it and get out. You saw it last night, even during the debate. She got very deep into policy issues, very deep into policy explanations, really as to, how she got really into specifics as to how she would execute on different issues, whereas he stayed very broad and very moral. And so based in those morals is how he is connecting with a lot of people, especially a lot of younger voters. But I do think that, if people I do think that she can cut through. The differences between the two candidates on policy platforms are not so huge that there's no opportunity for her to cut in. But she does need to find a way to really connect with people when they're connecting with that moral message of Sanders right now.